Starting us off today is Giovanni, excuse me, it is Devyani Giovanni with her presentation titled Rethinking Needle in a Haystack, Approaching Materials Discovery. She comes from the Materials Design and Innovation Department in the School of Engineering and Applied Sciences. And she grew up in Vadodara, India, and likes to read and hike. In fact, she likes to hike so much that she was the vice president of the University Hiking Club during her undergraduate. Thank you very much for joining us. And please go ahead when you're ready. Ready, set, pitch.
If you had to, how would you look for a needle in a haystack? You would probably sift through the pile strand by strand until you found the needle. But what if you had no idea what a needle looked like, but you knew that it was heavier than hay? You might dump the hay in a pool of water and hope for the needle to sink. But what if you knew that the needle was fire retardant and magnetic? Then you could burn the haystack and use a magnet to pull it directly from the ashes into your hands. Once you know certain properties of the needle, the ones that set it apart from hay, there are multiple options to retrieve it. The task of discovering materials is comparable to finding a needle. New materials are discovered by trial and error approach, which is analogous to sifting through the hay. And this creates a premise for suboptimal materials being selected, which means that we may confuse a stiff pointy hay strand for the needle. In my research, we zoom into the material to identify the distinguishing and useful features. But why should we care about materials discovery? Materials are ubiquitous. Metals, plastics, even food is made up of materials. But did you know that some really common materials were discovered accidentally? Rubber, superglue, concrete were all accidents. One such accident was made by scientists who were trying to treat heart conditions. Thereby, little blue pill was invented. And ironically, its side effect is heart attack. My work is to reduce this uncertainty while accelerating the discovery process to address the call for newer materials that are designed just for our needs. We cannot depend on traditional discovery where new materials are synthesized before being tested for desirable properties. This is tedious and incredibly expensive. Computers are superior at solving complex problems, optimizing our needs while taking only seconds to make these decisions. My work is to develop algorithms to predict properties of compounds that do not even exist and reduce physical experimentation significantly. I've applied this work to organic solar cells, where the aim is to identify the key features that directly impact the cell performance. I've further extended this work to plant-based meats. By infusing proteins in mushroom roots, we can make it just as healthy as meat and address the 13 billion tons of waste, or 18% of greenhouse gases that is produced by livestock every year. Now, you may wonder what these two seemingly different materials may have in common, but the properties depend on the structure of materials. And my work is to enable the extraction of these features or the needle in the haystack. And since we get to design materials based on properties, we could eventually create something as cool as Harry Potter's invisibility cloak. The possibilities are endless. Thank you.